Does your financial planning look something like this? We could show you a better way. Presenting digital advice from Zurich, the only one of its kind in the UAE. Consolidate your portfolio, close financial gaps, and secure your future goals. Looking at your life goals in isolation creates blind spots in your financial planning that can sneak up on you at a later stage. Our digital advice tool, combined with the expertise of our dedicated advisors, can help you approach your goals holistically. Planning for a stress-free retirement, saving for your child's education, making sure you and your family are protected against unforeseen events. These are all essential to your financial well-being. Our AI tool calculates inflation rates and accurately estimates your cost of living or education expenses in any region of the world. Using this data, the simulation tool projects the ideal future scenario in realistic and realizable terms and generates a detailed recommendation report tailored to your specific needs and goals. This enables you to take optimistic action. You are now one step closer to achieving financial well-being. We believe every household should have a recommendation report because they deserve it. Speak to a dedicated Zurich advisor today. Zurich, be ready for life.
Something that is as inevitable as death is life itself. There's power in what is now, because tomorrow, it's a maybe, it's a could be, it's an if. So start living. Not next week when work is slower, not over the weekend, not tomorrow, but now. Because at Zurich, we believe a life worth living today is a life worth ensuring now.
Up to 90 years old, do you have the amount of money that you need to support yourself and your family? And you know the good news about now, according to the World Economic Forum report of 2025, we are living longer, with 1 out of 6 people becoming 65 by 2050. But I think the biggest question is, are we living wiser? If this is your first time watching, let me welcome you. This is Wanda 𝐂𝐿𝐿. I'm the host of the Cancer Conversations podcast. Every month, we have life-saving insights. And today, I'm very excited because our episode is all about the longevity blueprint. It's Men's Health Month, right? So let's talk about how to protect your health, your wealth, and legacy. And we have a very special guest. Dinesh Tanikala is an expert in insurance with over 25 years advising families for lifelong confidence and peace of mind. So let me welcome Dinesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wanda, for having me. Really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think I always talk about my mom, and her journey, but I think there are also stories about my dad. I mean, he died very early in his 50s, and it's heart attack. And I think Mom died of cancer at 77, but these conversations are very important. It was life-changing for me. And this is why I think this topic is very important. In the beginning, I thought, I've planned well. I'm very frugal with my spending. I have investment in bonds, stocks, whatever. But I think when sickness hits a person or a family, it changes the dynamics of everything. Now, Dinesh, I know financial planning has many terminologies. I got myself wrong, when mom died, I got worried at the point of, wait, are my savings still okay until my 90s, because cancer is very expensive. But I think what I want to understand first from your perspective is, what is the definition of financial planning from an insurer expert like yours?
Brilliant. I think that's a good start, Wanda. I think while people perceive financial planning in their own ways, I would say financial planning in a simple, way to explain is the process of ensuring you manage your finances so that you are better prepared for your life goals and future financial security. It's a map, it's a road map, to ensure that you take informed decisions about your money to balance the present and for your future aspirations. So if I can put it again, akin to the pyramids, we all know how long they've been standing for so long, right? Because of the strong base, what they have. Financial planning essentially is about creating a very robust foundation plan. Let's call it a financial pyramid, right?
Okay.
And this financial pyramid ideally should have 3 phases. I would say starting with the complete defensive planning at the bottom.
Okay.
Moving up to your conservative planning.
Okay.
And again, on the top you could have the aggressive planning, right? I would say in simple terms, that is how a good financial plan should look like, right? And if I have to deep dive more into it, just to make it very clear for people to understand, at the bottom of the pyramid, because we're talking about a strong foundation, we should really look at protecting the income and the lifestyle of the family. God forbid something were to go wrong, right? I mean, that's why it's called defensive planning. Then I think it's all about getting into regular habits, of doing regular savings so that you're prepared for your near-term to mid-term goals. Once you're in the habit of accumulation, then you want to grow your wealth, right? And that's about growing the wealth so that, in the end, it could help you leave a legacy. So those are some of the important components of, what financial planning or the financial pyramid should look like. Having said that, easier, right, to say that, this is how a pyramid should look like. Generally, what we've seen is people are comfortable planning with instruments which they are aware of, right, or they've heard of or seen of, right?
Yes.
And I think you just touched upon the point in the introduction of, you had done your planning with your equities, right? Similarly, people understand equities very well. People understand mutual funds. They understand real estate, gold, crypto. So people tend to focus more on the growth aspect and tend to ignore the conservative and the defensive planning. So if you have to talk about the financial pyramid per se, it tends to be highly concentrated or top heavy. So your base is leaning on a very thin point. It's an inverse triangle. In the event of any adversity, that's where it topples down and the plans go haywire. So I mean that essentially we've seen happening with people, though it's as simple as it looks, but we tend to look at things which we understand and that's why I think the pyramid tends to be upside down, rather than being standing on a very strong base. And also, Wanda, I think what again we've seen is, while insurance is a good asset to mitigate long-term risk, we tend to ignore it, as an asset, and hence I think are more focused on the growth instruments, leading to a imbalanced, financial plan.
I think, Dinesh, that's a very good point. I think I'm a clear example of that pyramid. I thought I've planned my finances well, but as you rightly said, when things happen, the pyramid shifts on another level. And I think this is where the next question is geared towards: how do I start? Because a lot of people have the impression of, I think number one is, you don't want to prepare for sickness. You don't want to plan about dying early, or, you being scared about the future. But I think it's a more normal question to ask: how do I plan right, Dinesh? Can you guide me, please?
Yeah, again, brilliant. Sometimes big things are about small starts.
Yeah.
I think to begin with, one should really assess their current situation. They should look at, the future aspirations and the gaps they have, look at their budgets, and then plan, as simple as it gets, right? So the two most important aspects of getting started are understanding your own finances and understanding your assessment, about the risk, about the mitigating the risk. So let's talk about the first aspect of assessing your own income, right, or finances. Whether you're salaried or a businessman, we should exactly understand what is the kind of inflow, what is the income, which gets generated. So let's call it the creation of income, right? Then of course, all of us have expenses. We all have an amazing lifestyle. So then we need to completely be aware of how our expenses look like. So we call it the consumption, right? So creation of income and consumption of that income. So if I have to minus the consumption or the expenses from the income, whatever is left becomes the money at disposable, right?
Yeah.
Which is where I tend to invest, I tend to use it, right? So let's call it the conservation of income, because you want to conserve that income. I think story is good till here. Creation we understand, consumption we understand, conservation we understand. The most important aspect of getting started is understanding how will continuation happen, right? I think we are in such times where I think we need to understand things are happening much faster, we could have thought of. So in the event of adversity, eventuality, how will that income continue so that people who are dependent on me, the lifestyle continues. So those are the four key aspects, of getting started: understanding your income, understanding your expenses, your savings pattern, and in the event of adversity, how will the continuation happen? That's critical.
I like that forces: create, consume, conserve, and continue, right? I think that's a very important point. And I think it's also a question of, there are many formulas out there. The abundance formulas is 70-20-10 or 50-20-30, whatever. I think, can you give us a formula? Because I think at the end of the day, the question is, okay, I'm saving, but how much really is enough? Is there like a formula I can follow, Dinesh, if I'm just starting?
Again, I think it's, while, I would highly encourage, I think we have a digitally enabled AI tool, no obligation. I think one of our advisors would be better suited, because everyone's need is different from other. But I will definitely talk about the two most thumbs up rule, I would say. But before that, there was one aspect I wanted to add on to your previous question of how do you get started. So while income is one aspect, second is also your appetite towards risk, right? So when does an eventuality happen, Wanda, right? I think it happens in scenarios, which we don't envisage. One of the scenario could be, a premature death, dying too soon, as we call it. Or a scenario of me living too long. While golden years are amazing, but the longer the golden years, my retirement years, I think it comes with its own, cost, and I need to be prepared, right?
Sure.
And the third most important thing is, how do I really take care of my finances if I'm critically ill or disabled? Because income still is a key deterrent there, right?
Yeah.
So that also is in conjunction when getting started. I think both needs to be looked in conjunction. Now coming back to, is there a formula, quick fix? As I said, while I think I would really encourage everyone to, get a advice done for themselves. I would talk about two things, simple things. Individuals are assets, right? I think all of us are income generating assets. One of the quickest way to look at is, whenever you want to start, let's say you want to start today, look at your annual income. How much of income generation happens on an annual basis? That's the first point. And then look at how many years are left for the retirement. So let's take an example. We have a person who's 40 years old, has an annual income of, let's say, 200,000 dirhams, annual income, and wants to retire at 60. So which means from now till the next 20 years, there's 4 million dirhams of income to be generated by this asset, this individual. So that could be one thumb rule to understand. Are we protecting that unearned income, or that human life value I may have in the next 20 years? So that's one thing I can recommend to have a quick fix, to understand. Second could be also on the expenses. One thing consistent is expenses. All of us have lifestyle expenses to be taken care of. Whether I'm there or not, my family has to survive, right?
Sure.
So another formula I can talk of is, look at your monthly expenses and multiply it by 200.
Wow,
that should
200.
give you, that should give you what
That will
cost
scare my
persistent. So again, let's take an example
Yeah.
for the benefit of everyone. My monthly expenses are, let's say, 15,000 dirhams, a month. Multiply by 200, that's 3 million.
Sure.
So I need to be prepared for at least 3 million dirhams, so that my lifestyle of my family keeps going on. So these are some of the quick fix kind of thing to know how much is needed. But again, I think we have a fantastic digital advice tool from Zurich Advisory Network, and people should really benefit, because it's a no obligation kind of a process, and you can exactly understand what your needs are.
That's a very good, simple math, I'll say, because a lot of people get confused. I even had this conversation with my husband. Okay, we want to retire by this age. How much do we need? And I think the moment you said, okay, your expenses multiplied by 200, he's an accountant, so he's going to be scared. But I think more than being scared, it's about having understanding of the reality, right? And I think that's a very good example, at least. And I mean, I've done the digital advice myself. I thought I was like super prepared. I have these numbers, and then when the advisor told me you need this much by this time, I was like, really? I mean, first I think I got scared, but also at the back of my mind, I was like, then I need to prepare. Then I need to know more. Because I think, Dinesh, the next question brings me to, why do people delay? I mean, for myself, honestly, in my 20s, I got insurance because I just wanted to help a friend. Nobody explained, in your 20s, people are like, yeah, do this, do that. But nobody, if in my 20s, somebody told me, buy insurance for your mother, right? Because this and that, and to protect herself, I would have done that. But most people also don't understand the why. And can you explain from your experience, what are the reasons why people delay or don't understand that insurance is actually, from my side, I think now as I'm older and wiser, I hope, for me it's an asset. I mean, this is the way I see it now. Why do people delay?
I think one of the common things, if I can talk on this, and I thanks for this question, is I think there's a sense of denial. People don't want to believe something is going to go wrong, right? And I don't know, I firmly believe from my observations is, in every culture or with every individual, I think our bringing up is in such a way that we've been told everything's going to go right, nothing's going to go wrong, right? I think that's the fundamental belief with which all of us have grown up, right? So we tend to be in the denial mode. We don't want to believe things are going to happen to us. We don't want to believe that it's going to happen in my family, and we tend to believe that if things were to go wrong, it will happen to somebody on my right or to my left, right? I mean, that's a generic view. If you really ask me, I think we tend to be in denial. People tend to be in denial that things are not going to happen to me. Hence, I don't plan, right? That's the common thing I would say. But otherwise, I think there are a lot of psychological, behavioral and knowledge-based, concerns, I would say. To begin with, I would say procrastination, right? Again, all of us, need to be highly motivated to do things which we want to do. and with a denial, you tend to procrastinate. I mean, they both go hand in hand, right? Without really understanding that the cost of delays could really make me ineligible, for insurance, because if I'm 25 today and I've taken the right decision today, I'm in a better position to be, getting a cover approved. Whereas if I'm 45, I've delayed it for 25 years and now suddenly believe at the age of 45 I need insurance, maybe I may be ineligible, right? So procrastination is again one of the key things. Again, the behavioral biases, as I spoke about. I think loss aversion, confirmation bias. We tend to do things to substantiate our beliefs, right? Denial, I would look at things which kind of help me in my bias that, oh yes, I don't need it, right? Again, that's psychological. Another one which is very common is the financial literacy to begin with. While yes, we are all very educated, I think we are very knowledgeable, but when it comes to life insurance, I think the literacy is still at very low levels. People know, but people don't want to really dwell deep into it unless and until something happens to them or to their families. But by the time, things could have really gone too far, right? Again, that's again one of the reasons why people tend to delay. Another thing, I think, we tend to be indisciplined and not being consistent. We may want to start, but I'm not disciplined enough to continue, what I started, right? Or I'm not consistent in my efforts to ensure that I'm putting my financial plan in place. That could also be one of the reasons. And talking about discipline, I think this is something which I really love talking about. Is I think we were the most disciplined, as all of us put together when we were in our childhood, right? All of us have gone through 16, 17 years of formal education. Nobody questioned it because we all believed a good education would ensure us that we're prepared, for better futures. So 15, 16 years, every single day going to the school, learning what is supposed to be learned. And that's how disciplined we were. Now imagine what happens once you hit the adulthood, right? Yeah. You tend to, undo all the good things you've learned. And I believe financial planning needs the same rigor and discipline as what was happened in our schooling or during our childhood, right? So I think that lack of discipline again is one of the key things which tends to take you away, drift you away, and suddenly you realize you wanted to have a plan, but you don't have a plan. True. I hope that.
Yeah, I think two things: denial and discipline. And I definitely agree with you. I think we are raised to be optimistic, right? I think one sample of optimism, nothing will happen. Or even when my mom got cancer, it's like, no way. I mean, there's never a history in her family. But when I delve into the statistics, is that 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women have risk of cancer in their lifetime. And I was like, wait, this is a problem that the world is facing, but nobody talks about, right? So, because the more I learned, the more I was like, no, I have to do something. Which actually brought us to having this podcast, because I want people to be aware, like, yeah, being optimistic is good, but I think being realistic is more important of the risk that you have in your lifetime. And I actually wanted to understand more other than denial and discipline. There are many myths. I mean, in the UAE, we're kind of spoiled, I'll say, because we have medical insurance. When people, before when they will tell me, Wanda, why don't you buy insurance? Like, you know what, in my company, I already have a very good insurance. But I think what was the wake-up call for me also was when I was in the hospital, there were many patients who lost their job because the companies removed them the moment they got sick. Second, there are people who have company coverage, but it's not enough to cover for whatever sickness like cancer that they have. So I think, Dinesh, the next question is, can you explain about this myths? Because I think it's very important to talk about it, because I think what you don't know can hurt you. This is why this podcast is so important on raising this awareness. What is the difference between when I have this company coverage and when I have my own insurance? Can you explain more?
Brilliant. No, thanks again. I think this is something which we, deal on a day-to-day basis. So simply put, medical insurance is the cost of covering the treatment, right? I mean, if I can put it. So there's a certain coverage, given to the group, to the company, to the employees. It has certain, network of hospitals. Some of the conditions covered in some countries. So there are quite kind of limits decided by the organization which wants to give to people. Talking about critical illness, it basically covers the cost for your entire lifestyle treatment, right? Critical illness is an event which tends to really take you 2 steps back. It could really hinder with your day to day, right? That's why it's called a critical illness. So when you have a critical illness cover, it tends to pay out a lump sum which can help you plan your treatment better, your recoupment better, and all the costs associated with a prolonged illness, right? So that's the fundamental difference between a medical insurance and a critical illness. See, when a critical illness happens, while yes, the treatment needs to be taken care, but there's also the post, treatment, right? There's a recoupment period. It could be 3 months, 6 months, depending on how critically you are ill, depending on what would have happened. So this aspect of having that lump sum payout helps you navigate, in those times where income could stop or you are not able to work, but expenses still need to be taken care of, right? So that's the important aspect of critical illness. Again, when I said, when you look at medical insurance, it has a limit to a cover, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what do you do? The expenses go beyond that cover. You are again draining into your expenses, isn't it? I mean, you need to, arrange money aside the money what is there, or you need to be only in the network which is there. What if you wanted to get a treatment, from a particular place which you believe, you had more faith on or more confidence on? So we should view both of them complementing each other. So my message would be, while medical insurance is good, it takes care of the cost of the treatment. A critical illness complements beautifully because it's giving you that freedom, to kind of express yourselves in times where you tend to be bogged down because, you might be out of work for some time, but that financial freedom should really give you peace of mind. So we should look at critical illness complementing the medical insurance. Both should go hand in hand, Wanda.
That's a good example, and I think when you say complementing, I think that's a very important thing to take note, because even from the last episode we had where we spoke about, why women get breast cancer and how to heal beyond medicine, I think one of the factors I heard over those survivors where I was able to focus on my healing because I was able to get that financial protection that I need. In terms of I'm covered, I can rest, I'm taken care of because I have the means to now choose where do I want to go, where do I want to get treated, and they're not worried about the money. That is a very big portion, I think, of healing, because I learned how when you worry, then emotionally, it weakens you, right? So I think that's very important. And I think one another great example, I know the CFO, of course, is not sharing that he had cancer, but that thing that he got from the insurance is the thing that it saved him, because he said at some point, Wanda, I cannot work. And even if he's working again now, he's not even disclosing because his fear is like, this company might not employ me because I had this history. But that money that he had was really, I think both the peace of mind that he needed to take care of himself and to get back on track. So I think this is why I always say, when you look at things, sometimes it's a different meaning, right? Now, if somebody explained to me when I came to Dubai 20 years ago, Wanda, you have medical insurance, great, but do you know that this is what it's going to do for you? I think it's also about the education that matters. This is why we're bringing this conversation forward. And
if I can add one on this, in fact, see, I think being in the business of life insurance, what we also try to do is similar to what we're trying to do is awareness, right? Every year we publish our benefits paid report, which is available on our website. It's in public domain. It talks about if we were paying claims, what percentage go towards living benefits, which means people have taken money while they were alive, and how much of percentage goes to death benefits. You'll be amazed that number has been coming down from a high 80s of paying towards death benefits. It's come to a 50-50.
Oh, wow. So
If-
that really confirms the World
Yeah,
Economic
things are
Forum
happening
report.
very fast.
We're
Yeah.
living longer.
Absolutely.
This is why we need those. Oh, wow. That actually is complementary, I think, to the World Economic Forum report, which says we're really living longer, right? But again, it's a question of you're living longer, but do you have the sufficient cost to cover that? Are there any other myths from your perspective, Ines, that you can share other than, the denial or, I have
Yeah.
medical insurance? Are there any other
Yeah, I think
things?
similar to critical illness, I think let's talk about the group life also,
Okay,
right? I
yeah.
think that's again a cover which organization, some of the organization, most of the organizations
Yeah.
provide to their employees for the well-being of the family if something were to go wrong with an employee. Typically, 3 to 4 times the salary is the amount of cover, which is given to every employee. And people tend to believe that much cover is enough. God forbid something were to go wrong to me. But again, if you are to do your calculation in terms of expenses and the unearned income, even if you have to do both of those, we need it's insignificant in terms of the lifestyle of my family. What may have to go through if an event were to happen to me. So I think that's also one myth which we've seen. People tend to believe the group life they have is good enough, to take care, whereas I think it's quite inadequate in the context of the expenses, what the families would go through.
I think so. That's a very good point to add, the group life. And I think one of the things also is the gratuity, right? I mean, in the UAE, you can say, I can retire comfortably, but because there's gratuity. But people are not aware how the math is being done. I mean, it's calculated as basic salary. And for 1 year, it's the 1 month of your basic salary. Now, when people learned the math, they got scared. And I think, which brings me to the next question. I know one of the materials I read is 7 out of 10 people who are in the want to retire in the UAE. But the question is, how much do we need to stay here, right? Because we love this country so much. But it's a question of, do we have the enough, coverage to make sure we can stay here for as long as we want?
Yeah, brilliant. Again, I think adding on to the myths, what we're just trying to demystify, Wanda, I think there's again a myth about the end of service. As you rightly put, somebody were to work, example, 5 years plus in this country and decided to leave, 1 year of work is equal to 1 year of pay, right? That's what it goes. People tend to believe, the end of service benefit is significant enough to take care of the retirement needs. But as we said, it's only one salary in a year. So which means if my expenses were 100, I'm only covering for 10% of it,
Sure.
right? So which means I may retire with inadequate retirement funds, right? So that's one of the myth I would want to demystify, that I think it's not enough. We need to complement it with a with a proper retirement plan, so that there's enough to take care of the scenario we discussed at the beginning of living too long,
Yes.
right? Because we need to have money with us. Also, the second fact I think we need to consider when it comes to retirement is the inflation factor.
No, yeah.
See, today I may require X amount of money, but if I'm planning to retire in the next 15 years, that X is going to drastically go up because of the inflation and the way things are going around. I think inflation is really growing much faster than we could think of. So my purchasing power is coming down. So I need to be in a position to take care of this factor as well as a plan for my retirement. That's, I think I would say, the second factor. And the third most important, let's say even at the age of retirement, I tend to have most of my responsibilities done with. Health becomes, one of the key things.
Sure.
If you plan to retire in this country at an age where you are past you hang up your boots, the cost of medical insurance is significant. It's significant. And because there's no organization paying for it, you are, paying for your medical insurance. That's significant. So that requires planning. So net, I think it's all about getting started and again complementing a plan, along with the end of service, which could really make the golden years worthwhile.
I agree with you. The medical insurance here is very expensive. I mean, from beginning, my mom has always been with me. She has this insurance, and we're paying a lot, but it's the basic coverage. I end up still paying a lot to the hospitals, and when she got sick, nobody wants to insure her. So it was really, it's a very difficult situation, but it's reality. And I think this is also why I also want to talk about living too long as a risk, because I think a lot of people think that, I don't even want to talk about it. It's a long period to go, but at the end of the day, the question also is, do you want to be a burden to your children? Because that's, the children are very smart. My daughter even asked me this question: Mommy, did you ever, regret having me? I said, why? I said, because, I think there are a lot of things society talks about. But Dinesh, can you talk about, how can you make sure that in the future as well, you don't become a burden to your children? Because I think the children now are worried of, oh my God, how am I gonna take care of my parents? What's your best advice for that also?
I think you basically talk about what legacy do you want to
yes,
leave
which
with,
actually
right?
is the legacy, right? So maybe let's talk more about, the World Economic Forum, I know, talks about legacy as wealth building, but what is it really? Can you share?
See, in simple terms, I think knowingly, unknowingly, that's what as parents or, as grandparents we've been doing, trying to work today so that we save and leave something for our next generation, right? That simply put together, that you're leaving money for your future generations to have a good life, if I can put it that way. When it comes to legacy planning or estate planning, to say, generally again, insurance is the most undervalued asset. People don't look at insurance, but I think there are various ways through which insurance can really mitigate, your plans to leave a big legacy. Again, let's take an example. Today, if I have to create an asset, let's say I want to buy a property, I need about 25 to 30% of the property value to be given upfront for me to create that asset, and then I pay, over a period of time, EMIs, and then I acquire the property, right? So I need to invest to create an asset. Whereas insurance works completely the other way around. Today, depending on my income levels, my eligibility, I can take a cover which is in line with my net worth. So I have created asset today, and then I only start paying a small percentage of maintaining the asset, which is my yearly premiums, right? So that's how effective life insurance could be, when it comes to legacy planning. That you create an asset today. If nothing goes wrong, I'm good enough. I can really work and create wealth. But if something were to go wrong, I think my asset will ensure that the legacy is left behind. Like, I'm think of it today. Maybe I don't have $100 million with me, but I can protect myself for $1 million, and God forbid something were to go wrong. That's the legacy I'm leaving behind, for my nears and dears. Also, this whole concept of life insurance can help in equitable inheritance. We have families, we have multiple children, and when it comes to wealth distribution, that's where I think you tend to have some complications, right? Let's take the same example. Let's say I had that property, I have 2 kids, and after me, either the house will be sold off so that they split the money, so there's no continuity of a legacy. What if, there was a parallel insurance plan created of the same net worth of the value of the property on my name, and I assign the property to one kid and my insurance policy to other, right? So it kind of, leaves you with equitable inheritance. Right? And similar, from a business perspective, I may have a business which has been going on for a long time and want to pass on for future generations. But if I have 2 kids, what do? Right? They would dilute the business and maybe, have the share taken. In this case, again, if you want your legacy to go on, use the same thing. What is the worth of the business? The same insurance could be bought as a parallel asset and could be distributed, amongst the kids, right? So.
That's actually a good example. I think, the more I listen to what insurance is about, the more I get to understand that, wait, this is really more about the asset, the legacy building, the continuity. Because I really look at it differently before, honestly, Dinesh. But I think this is why the education is more important. I know the World Economic Forum speaks about, there are many avenues going now, like because of the, aging population, government pensions, are keeping up with the systems. But I think from an individual perspective, there's many doorway of opportunities, from a wealth building to, legacy and protecting your children. Like the example that you said. And I think this brings me to the next question. If I want to start, I know also insurance has so many products. This is where I also get so much lost. It's like, what is that? What's the difference? What do I need to do? If I want to start something, understanding, what is your best advice?
I think, as I said, we need to leave this to somebody who understands the subject well.
Yeah.
I would always say, please get in touch with a qualified insurance advisor, because they would be in a better position to understand, the needs, the wants, the goals, the priorities, and give you a roadmap. And it's ultimately up to the individuals to act on it.
Yeah.
But I think I would definitely say, please take professional help, because this is serious, right? Because you are really investing in yourself, your family, and your future generations. I think it needs that bit of seriousness. I think I would generally say, please seek the help of a professional advisor to begin with, because needs are very different, right? And
Sure.
for me to assimilate my needs, I need somebody who understands the subject very well. And that's where I think people are now pretty open in terms of having open conversations, with qualified advisors. I think that would be the first step, Wanda, for me, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I think I will always say, you ask the experts. I think sometimes we also have the illusion of knowing.
Yeah.
But I think the scariest part is, what you don't know can hurt you. And which actually brings me, I've done that digital advice of Zurich. And they have a lot of questions, but I think it was an eye-opener for me.
Right.
And can you talk more about the digital advice? What is it about? How can it help you? Because a lot of people are also scared. The moment they said, she's in insurance, she's gonna need an hour of your time, they get scared because they're gonna sell me something. But I think more than selling, I think what I got from that is the advice that I need. How much do I need? Where am I now? Where I want to be, and how do I get there? Can you talk more about
Absolutely.
that?
See, the whole advice process is nothing but having conversations. The way both of us are having today conversations, right?
Sure.
It's about you. It's about the customer. It's about what the needs of the customer are, what the future goals of the customer, aspirations of the customer are, what is the current situation, what is the risk appetite, and how do they want to prioritize. If I can put it that simple. So it's as simple, me coming and asking you, hey Wanda, what is that you want to do in your future? Where are you today? Where do you think you should be there? Is there a gap?
Yeah.
If there is a gap, what are you doing about it? So it's having these very simple conversations, about asking on the financial priorities, how much of work has already happened on that, how much of gap is remaining, and how do we get started on that? And again said, we have a state-of-the-art digital, advice tool which simply processes all the conversations into a meaningful and a very powerful report. We call it a recommendation report, Wanda, which is a roadmap for you. It's like a guiding light, right? It's not necessarily that you need to take an action today, but you're better prepared, right?
Sure.
So it becomes a roadmap. I think everybody should have a roadmap which allows them to plan, depending on their priorities. And that's what I think at Zurich, we intend to really have one recommendation report, in every household of the UAE, as simple as that, right? That's our big mission, what we want to do. And again, let's look at the fact, today people are consumed by so much of content, right? People really want to look for the best when it comes to, consumption of content or ideas. The fact that people keep browsing, they keep doing reels, is the fact that they want to know things.
Yeah.
And I think I read somewhere it takes average 38 minutes, somebody spends a day browsing and understanding what's things happening around. To do an effective needs analysis, it takes about 45 minutes, maybe 10 minutes more than the average browsing somebody does, in terms of knowing what's happening around. So I really encourage everyone to really reach out and get one recommendation report done or one needs analysis done to ascertain, where they are currently today, where is that they need to go, what is the gap, and what needs to be done about the gap.
Yeah, I think what I love about the digital advice is there's no commitment.
Yeah.
Whether you want to buy later, I think it's free.
Yes.
Right? If you have, and I think with social media, it's so addictive when you start, then you already consume like 38 minutes unconsciously. And why not now consciously spend that 45 minutes of your time to know where you are with the free advice and then a recommendation report that comes hand in hand. And I think that's very good. So, Dinesh, how can we, if somebody wants to get the digital advice, both as an individual or as a company, if they want something, what's the best way to do that?
Just reach out to us, 𝐂𝐻𝐿 Zurich. We are there on all, across the social media. We are there we have our own web page. You can reach out. Just reach out to 𝐂𝐻𝐿 Zurich and we will come back to you, fix a time with you at your convenience, and get a no obligation, completely free of cost digital advice journey with you.
So, thank you, Dinesh. I really like that no obligation, no commitment, right? And this is where a lot of people are scared actually. Just like, oh no, the moment I had coffee with her or talked to her, I'm going to be obligated or committed. But I think what I love differently about what you do is you give this for free, no commitment, no obligation.
If I can add one more thing on that, sorry.
Yeah, of course.
If that gives more, kind of confidence to people, we always have 3 promises we make to our customers. Aside the no obligation. A, we're never going to sell in the first meeting of us. We will not sell. We will only meet the customer second time if they wish to meet us. And should there be any positive decision taken, it will be the start of a lifelong relationship.
Yeah, that's very good. I love that. I think at the end of the day, also people don't want to be sold something, right? That's where they're like, oh no, I don't even want to talk to somebody. But I think it's more about yourself. And I think this is why this episode is very important. I want to thank you, Dinesh. I think not only for men, in terms of the longevity, blueprint of how to protect their health, their wealth, and their legacy, I think it's equally relevant for women. And it's about having that conversation with an expert to understand your finances, where you are, where you want to be, and how to get there. And getting that expert advice with your help is really very powerful. So thank you. Any other last words, Dinesh, before we end the podcast?
Yeah, no, thanks, Wanda. I think this was really helpful. Hope, it does make a difference. See, I think in the end we believe whatever planning is of the advisors, of the customers, is for them. It's the planning of the customers, by the customers, for the customers. As the jargon, goes of democracy, it's for the people, by the people, of the people. We want to really democratize the way people buy insurance, and also advisors sell life insurance. So in the end, it's all about our customers. That's my last bit on that.
Thank you, Dinesh. So we're gonna end the episode. Remember, this is all about you, and I think it's time to put your health, your wealth, your legacy, as an important factor, because if 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women have the risk of having cancer in their lifetime, this is the right time for you to have that conversation to protect yourself and of course the legacy that you want to leave behind. Again, this is Wanda 𝐂𝐿 of the Cancer Conversations podcast. We'd like to thank everybody who's watching us live or on replay, and of course, thank you again, Dinesh.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does your financial planning look something like this? We could show you a better way. Presenting digital advice from Zurich, the only one of its kind in the UAE. Consolidate your portfolio, close financial gaps, and secure your future goals. Looking at your life goals in isolation creates blind spots in your financial planning that can sneak up on you at a later stage. Our digital advice tool, combined with the expertise of our dedicated advisors, can help you approach your goals holistically. Planning for a stress-free retirement, saving for your child's education, making sure you and your family are protected against unforeseen events. These are all essential to your financial well-being. Our AI tool calculates inflation rates and accurately estimates your cost of living or education expenses in any region of the world. Using this data, the simulation tool projects the ideal future scenario in realistic and realizable terms and generates a detailed recommendation report tailored to your specific needs and goals. This enables you to take optimistic action. You are now one step closer to achieving financial well-being. We believe every household should have a recommendation report because they deserve it. Speak to a dedicated Zurich advisor today. Zurich, be ready for life.